Are you trying to figure out how to grow an audience on TikTok? In this video, I'm doing something a little bit different than normal. I, along with 3 other travel creators, are going to share our best TikTok tips for growth. So if you want to learn how to get TikTok views or how to get TikTok likes, make sure you keep watching. Even if you're not in the travel space yourself, you are bound to come away with some useful advice. I'm going to share with you the one thing that you may not realize could be getting you banned from the For You page, the exact time it's best to go live, a brand new feature on TikTok that's going to help you create a ton of new TikToks in record time, and a special technique called viral stacking that's going to explode your follower count, so keep watching. If you're new to Top Flight Family, my name is Carmen, we're the Sinyovi family, and we are all about inspiring families to travel the world in comfort and style. We share tips on how you can save time, reduce hassle, and maximize comfort when traveling with kids. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at Top Flight Family. And we're now on TikTok as well, so look for us there. We recently hit 1 million likes on our TikTok account, which is a pretty big milestone. And since then, I've been getting a lot of questions from friends and fellow influencers about how to use TikTok. So I thought I would put together this video in which I share what's working and what's not working. I also reached out to 3 of my favorite travel creators on the platform so that they could share their best tips with you as well. You'll be hearing from Trent and Sarah from Rio Travelers. They're newlyweds who have a very down-to-earth, relatable travel style. You'll meet Tom from Tom Stanley. He's a 19-year-old travel lover who specializes in aviation content. You'll get to hear from Michelle from LAX to Luxury. She's a pro at hacking points and miles, and she creates aspirational, luxury-oriented travel content. And of course, you'll also hear from me at Top Flight Family. Our TikTok content is a mix of travel tips and hacks for families, recaps of our family's past trips, and silly videos about our life at home here in New York City. So I deliberately chose 3 travel creators who have very different styles because one thing I want you to remember is that there is not just one magic formula that works on TikTok. Even though most famous TikTokers create content around dancing or humor, there are many creators who don't do either of these things but are still finding a ton of success. So you should definitely approach this platform with an open mind. Make sure you watch till the end of this video because Trent and Sarah are going to be sharing with us a really cool custom hashtag strategy that is driving a ton of views to their older content, so you don't want to miss that. Number 1, kids and your TikToks? Tread carefully. So the very first time that our family went live on TikTok, everything was going really well. And then all of a sudden, TikTok cut off the live stream and said that we were banned from going live for a week because we had apparently violated community guidelines. So this was super confusing to us because there was nothing questionable going on during our live. But after a while, I realized what the problem may have been. You see, we spent most of the live on camera as a family, but at a certain point, me and Serge were off camera and the girls kind of took over as the hosts, and it was only them 2 that were on camera. And that's actually when the live stream cut out. This made me realize something else. Have you ever noticed that even though there are so many kids who use TikTok, you almost never see kids on your For You page? That's because most likely, TikTok is actively suppressing content that features kids who are under 13 years old. Because technically, you have to be 13 or over to use the platform at all. TikTok has definitely seen some of the trouble that YouTube has gotten into around potential exploitation of children online, and so I think that they are playing it super safe, and their facial recognition software is really good at telling when it's an underage child. So the takeaway here is that if you care about audience growth and virality, you should not put your kids in every single TikTok. If you look on our account, you'll see that I only include kids in about 1/4 of my videos. Since we're a family travel account, it would be weird to never show us traveling as a family. So I do include some TikToks with my kids, but those videos are aimed at our existing audience, and I publish them knowing that they are unlikely to ever hit the For You page. Also, now when we go live, I make sure that there's always at least one adult on camera and that it's never our kids just on their own. And since we started doing it this way, we haven't run into any issues. Number 2. Don't be too glossy. On Instagram, much of the most successful content is highly edited and carefully curated. But on TikTok, the opposite is true. This is a platform where production quality and the level of aesthetics is pretty lo-fi, and it's really a platform in which authenticity reigns supreme. Here's Michelle's take on it.
The videos that seem to do the best are the ones that are the most authentic. So people get rewarded for authenticity on the app, and that's sort of one of the things I love the most about it. But it does require sort of a shift in strategy from what you may post on Instagram. I would say maybe what you might post on a TikTok is more similar to what you might share on an Instagram story, but not your posts. So any sort of hint of inauthenticity kind of gets caught pretty quickly.
Now, I actually know some people who actually hate this about TikTok, and they refuse to join the platform because it doesn't have the same level of aesthetics that, for example, Instagram has. But for me and a lot of other creators who have been active on Instagram for a really long time, TikTok has been a really, really refreshing change of pace. Here's what Trent had to say.
I think with TikTok, it's super frustrating for our friends who jump on the platform who are professional videographers and who have like their $5,000 drones, because that footage, it doesn't feel authentic. So people scroll away. Like people's radar goes off like, oh, this must be an ad. Like this isn't TikTok. And it's like, no, it's beautiful content, like created by somebody on the platform, but it just like, it doesn't work yet, at least. I think things are definitely starting to get that way, and we're going to start seeing better and better video content. So we're like, okay, we need to start like figuring out how to up our game. But right now it's so freeing knowing we just walk around with our iPhone and gimbal, pull it out, and just start filming.
Number 3, never forget that kids are watching. When I first started posting consistently to TikTok, most of my TikToks were of me talking to the camera, sharing travel tips that were aimed at parents. So here's an example. The number 1 reason you overpack is that you don't pack what you actually need. You just guess at what you might need and pack a bunch of options. You probably don't even wear half the stuff you pack, right? I noticed right away that some of our most engaged followers, the ones liking and commenting the most, were kids, and this really puzzled me. Obviously, I knew that there were tons of tweens and teens active on the platform because my daughter is one of them, but I didn't think that any of them would find my content all that interesting. After all, I was sharing pretty tactical tips aimed at an adult audience. Pretty dry stuff, not particularly entertaining. Michelle has noticed a lot of kids on her account as well.
Everyone just kept on asking, like, what do you do for work? Like, how do you even afford this? Blah, blah, blah. And my answer just kept on being like, I work full time. Like I'm a full-fledged adult in my 30s, you know, like someone submitted a question being like, do your parents pay for your trips? And I'm like, I'm a married woman. Like I can assure you I'm paying for my own trips.
One thing about kids is that the types of comments that they leave on your account don't really tell you a whole lot about why they're watching. It's a lot of stuff like first, early, 30 seconds. And you're kind of like, okay, how do I respond to this? So at first I would heart these comments, but not really reply. But after a while, I decided to engage a little more and see what happened. And that's when the floodgates opened. These kids would be like, oh my God, my family has used so many of your travel tips. Or they'd be like, oh, we travel a lot too, and that's why I love your account so much. I also realized that some of these kids are even more well-traveled than I am. Tom has definitely seen this as well.
A lot of them travel. I mean, I get a lot of 14, 15-year-olds that are like, yeah, I've been to Dubai and things like that. Like, it's crazy that some of the places where these kids go, they know, and they're like, sometimes they'll put like the best and worst airports according to certain sources, and they're like, no, it can't be the worst. I've been there 3 times and it's been amazing. And, you know, they're like 14 years old.
Ultimately, one of the reasons to get on TikTok is to reach this younger Gen Z audience. So while it may feel a little weird right now to have 14-year-olds commenting on your content, keep in mind that in just a few more years, they will be entering college or the workforce, and they're gonna start doing their own traveling. So establishing a strong brand now with this new generation of travelers is actually a really great investment. Also, don't forget that kids may be sharing your content with their parents. There are a ton of Gen X and millennial parents that are getting on TikTok right now, and they're looking for new creators to follow. They're asking their kids for recommendations. I know that I've discovered a lot of cool accounts through my daughter Sean. So don't write these kids off. Even if they're not booking their own trips right now, they may be much more influential within their households than you realize. Knowing that kids are watching, I try to keep my content as PG as possible because I want to make sure that I'm being a positive influence. Here are Trent's thoughts on that.
I see a lot of people on the app, not necessarily in the travel space, but a lot of people like not realizing how much influence they actually have. And that's really scary. So I think for us it is, it's like, it's a responsibility, right? Like when we have this following, and especially with a lot of them being underage, it's a huge responsibility to be giving them uplifting content and not be steering them down the wrong path. because we don't know how much exactly these people look up to us.
Number 4, experiment with different formats. The conventional wisdom on TikTok is that you should follow the trends. So use trending sounds, use trending challenges. And yes, definitely do some of that. I certainly do as well. But don't limit yourself to that. Definitely experiment and try different formats, and you might be surprised by the format that actually performs the best for your account. In my case, the first 20 or so TikToks that I posted were short travel clips set to music. They were from past trips and were high on aesthetics, and they featured destinations or experiences that had previously done well for us on Instagram. But they only got a few hundred views and just didn't perform that well on TikTok. I decided to try something different, and that's when I started posting the travel tips where I talked directly to the camera. Much to my surprise, these TikToks really took off, even though I wasn't using any sounds or music and they were not tied to any kind of trends. I kept this up for about a month, then decided to try and switch it up again by making more quote-unquote TikTok-y trending content. But I found time and time again that while my travel tips were getting tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of views, my more TikTok-y stuff would only hit a few thousand views. My travel tips videos would also get much higher engagement rates than the other stuff. It kind of felt like TikTok had decided that I was a travel tips account, and that's the kind of content it would always push out the best for me. So the format that works best for you may not be the one that you expect. That's why it's really important to experiment with lots of different formats and see what works best. Out of the 3 travel creators that I spoke to, Tom's content is probably the most similar to mine in terms of format. While the topics that he covers are different from me, he also talks directly to the camera. Here's how he settled on that format.
I really experimented by posting a lot of different varieties of content. My TikTok's known to be aviation, travel. I've learned my brand is anything with an airplane, so I've done things with like travel tips or travel hacks is what I call it, and that was one of my most successful series. But I've actually kind of transitioned my content into talking about how NFL teams and how NBA teams travel. And a lot of people found it really interesting because it combines aviation with sports.
Now, Michelle has a completely different format. Here's what works best for her.
I would describe my style on TikTok as being largely POV, right? Point of view. So I find that a lot of times sort of those clips where I'm kind of walking and you kind of see my legs walking towards a beach, or where I'm like entering like that giant jacuzzi that for some reason TikTok absolutely loves. What probably resonates with people with those clips is they almost get to feel like they're part of the experience versus someone showing off their experience.
Interestingly, Michelle has found that when she is in the clip herself, like if she's like toasting with a glass of champagne or sitting in a first-class airplane seat, she'll get negative comments and people will feel like she's showing off. But if she shoots that exact same content but from a POV perspective, she doesn't get that negative feedback, so it's pretty interesting. Trent and Sarah have also played around with a lot of different formats, but here's the one that they have found works best for them.
We create definitely a couple different styles of videos. The first videos that really started to blow up for us were just recommendations and like travel advice, especially like focusing on locations. So we'd be like 5 countries that are safe for women to travel or those kind of things. With those, we just always start with a hook. So we always kind of make it clear right away what's happening in the video. Okay, it's about 5 countries that are safe for women to travel. And then we try to quick jump into what those 5 countries are. But let's add text so it's not like, oh, they need to guess at what country this is. Like help guide their journey.
Number 5, let them see the real you. If you follow our advice from the previous section, you should know by now what format tends to work best for you. You'll know which of your TikToks tend to hit the For You page, get more reach, get more followers. For me, those are my travel tips. For Trent and Sarah, those are their top 5 lists. But there's a danger in only producing the content that gets you the most reach on TikTok. Yes, obviously growth is an important goal, but if you want to be successful in the long term on TikTok, it's really, really important to establish a strong connection with your audience. And one of the best ways to do that is to create TikToks that showcase your personality or that make you more relatable or more approachable. On our account, travel tips make up the bulk of the content, but I also mix in videos from our past trips. Since our daughters are in these ones and they're under the age of 13, I already know that they're not likely to get onto the For You page. But I also know that our existing audience finds these TikToks really inspiring, so I create them for that purpose, not at all for growth or reach. And then, because I also want our audience to see a bit more of my personality, I'll mix in some humorous TikToks where I'm using trending sounds. This is where I can really let my hair down and be a little bit more silly. These videos usually get a fair amount of reach from the For You page, but nowhere near the results that our travel tips get. So again, the purpose of these is to form a deeper connection with our audience, not to go viral. Now, with all that said, sometimes the TikToks you create that showcase your personality are the ones that end up going viral. This happened to Michelle. Most of Michelle's TikToks have a more aspirational or aesthetic nature, but one day she decided to switch it up. She posted a funny video of herself in the Maldives, struggling to recreate a cool photo she had seen on Instagram. This video went viral really quickly, hitting 2.9 million views at the time of this recording. After seeing this video, a lot of people didn't understand why she was struggling so much with the net, so she posted a follow-up TikTok to explain why this was so hard.
I got a lot of comments like this on my last video, so I just want to show you. So 1, the rope is super rough on bare skin, and I was getting rope burn on my stomach in the video. 2, it's too high up to just jump up from the water, as some of you said. And 3, the water is shallow with lots of rocks, so it's too dangerous to fall in from here.
Crazy enough, this follow-up video ended up going even more viral than the previous one. It's currently at 16 million views. That's more than 5 times the original video. So never shy away from letting your audience see the real you, to see your personality, because you never know, it could be the one thing that leads to a huge breakthrough for your account. Number 6, don't be afraid to go live. Nothing builds your connection to your audience better than being able to interact with them directly during a TikTok live. Now, you do need at least 1,000 followers to be able to go live on Instagram, so this may not be something that you can do from day one, but once you do unlock this feature, it's definitely something you should play around with. Here's Tom on why lives are key to his strategy.
Lives are really great for to really connect with your audience, and they also provide you content ideas. So like, they're like, why don't you talk about this? Or why don't you talk about that? And then I like literally write it down on my content calendar and then make a video about it, because you know what they're wanting. And that's the best thing you can do as a creator, is to really fulfill what your audience wants, but you also still have to maintain it's something you want to talk about as well. Like, the funny thing is, on my lives, we don't always talk about aviation. Aviation's really common, but we talk about like school, we talk about sports. Like it's like kind of people see a different side of you.
So just to kind of compare and contrast Instagram versus TikTok, when I go live on Instagram, it tends to be a little bit more formal in that I have a specific topic I want to talk about. I've got some bullet points written out. But when we go live on TikTok, it's much more laid back, much more casual. We'll often just turn on the live while we're preparing dinner and just kind of casually chat with our followers while we're getting dinner ready. And here's a really cool hack from Trent and Sarah on timing your lives just right.
We heard that's a really good strategy too, is like, if you have a video that's starting to go viral and you're like, I know that this is being circulated on the For You page, we heard if you can go live while it's like blowing up, then it shows everyone like, oh, they're also live right now, and you can drive a ton of people into your live. So I know we're kind of like, if the stars ever align, we've got one going and we're ready, it's like, jump on live quick.
Yeah.
Number 7, virality isn't everything. You might be surprised by hearing me say this, because after all, isn't everyone's goal on TikTok to go viral? Well, the funny thing is, the TikToks that go viral are not always the ones that actually bring you the most followers. Trent and Sarah will explain.
I think it's been interesting seeing, as we're putting out videos, the ones that do well and get like millions of views, we're not necessarily driving followers from getting that many views. So we've started to create more like
personal
videos of us in our house, which kind of show who we are more. I found that has actually increased how many followers we're getting versus like how many views we're getting.
We had one video that is just 5 affordable countries to travel to when you're young. And that video has like 10 million views and is still going, and it still gets a ton of likes, a ton of comments, but we're not necessarily seeing a ton of followers come from it. But that one that was us and like just who we are and like driving our personal brand, that one is paying way more dividends in actual followers.
Yeah.
Content has a much longer shelf life on TikTok compared to other platforms. The algorithm constantly serves up your older content to new groups of people to see how it's going to perform. So that means that TikToks that you made weeks ago or even months ago can continue to bring you views and engagement and impressions. So instead of aiming for or hoping to get that one huge viral hit, you really want to aim also for consistent views and follows over time. Just to give you an example, it took us about 2 months to get to 10,000 TikTok followers, but it took less than half that time to get to 20,000 followers. And during that time period where we got to 20K, we didn't have any big breakout viral hits as we did during the previous period. So it was really just the cumulative effect of some of our older TikToks still continuing to do well and some of our newer ones doing well, and all together together that brought the follower count up. And this longer lifespan of content makes TikTok a much more relaxed place to create. Here's Michelle on that.
Something that you post months ago could, out of nowhere, get pushed out to a ton of people, gain virality. As you can post something, and if something doesn't do well, it doesn't weigh on you. You're not like, oh shoot, do I need to delete this because like engagement won't, like that'll mess up my engagement statistics or whatnot. You don't have that same sort of thought process. It's just like post it, let it be, and you never know what might happen eventually. And that sort of element of not knowing sort of if something will pick up, when it'll pick up, is kind of fun because it's not as limiting as, knowing within 48 hours that this posted well or it didn't do well.
Now, if you do have a TikTok that's going viral, what can you do to really maximize this and make sure that you get as many followers from this as possible? Use a killer strategy called viral stacking. Here's Trent and Sarah.
And what we really try to do is we stack the two. So I would say we definitely do more videos kind of that are poised to go viral, that are set. But then especially as soon as we have a video that starts to take off, if it's like, whoa, this one's going, we immediately try to post a personal video right away because we know that we're driving a ton of profile views and we want the next video they see to be us. So we call it like viral stacking. Like as soon as we have one going viral, it's like hit them with the personal brand. And I think that's really important to actually build that relationship.
Number 8, post consistently. Just like any other social media platform, having a consistent posting schedule is really important for TikTok. I found that the easiest way to achieve that consistency is by batch creating content. I always keep a running list of ideas for possible TikToks I could make in my phone's Notes app. And when I'm consuming content on TikTok, as I come across one that has a sound or trend that I think I could use, I'll bookmark it. This way, when I sit down to create TikToks, I'm able to pump out a whole bunch of them in one go really efficiently. So I always have a whole bunch of saved drafts in my app ready to go. Here's how Trent and Sarah handle their workflow.
There's times where we have a lot of videos in our drafts, and it makes it a lot easier for when life gets busier so we can just post. And there's times where we don't really have much content in our drafts and we're just making up day by day.
Batching content is so freeing and it helps so much. I love when we have a Saturday and we can just knock out 12 videos.
Yeah.
And then it's all right, we're good. Because even if then it's we're posting 2 of these 12 and creating 1 new one each day. So much easier.
Yeah.
When you batch create content like this, it's easy to post more than once a day. Here's Tom.
I noticed a big unlock for me is I used to do 1 post a day. And then I started doing 2 a day. And then I started doing 3 a day. And I noticed that the more you do, and if you can spread it out during the day, it really works really well. You want to let it breathe because sometimes I see some creators that they go ham at posting 5 TikToks within 1 hour. And then people don't see all 5 because TikTok only promotes 2 of them within that hour.
If the idea of posting 3 times a day seems crazy to you, here's a really cool hack that makes it easy to create lots of TikToks answering the exact things that your audience is looking for. Here's Trent.
Right now we're really trying to post 3 times a day. It's really hard to do that. But we love the new comment feature. I don't know if you've seen that, but where you can reply to comments. We're going to start doing 1 video a day that's just replying to a comment because that's such easy content and it's relevant. We're able to respond, we're able to engage with our audience. Yeah. Our audience is able to see oh, they respond, so they're more inclined to comment. So I think that's going to help us with getting to that 3 a day mark again. A popular comment has just been, how did you 2 meet? So it's now, and maybe that got 50 likes, that comment. So now we can make a video responding to that comment. And the 50 people that liked that comment that are clearly interested will now get a notification saying, hey, they responded.
I've actually been using this strategy myself and I absolutely love it. Not only is it a quick way to create new TikToks, but I'm actually able to serve my audience in the exact way that they're asking to be served. Number 9, you can't predict success. As much as some TikTokers act like there's some magic formula you can use that will guarantee success, there's really no such thing. Here's Michelle on that.
I have found TikTok to be an incredibly inconsistent platform in the sense that, one, I never know which video is going to hit it big. There's a lot of truth to what people say about if your clip doesn't do well at first, leave it up, don't even care about it, just let it get its, middling number of views, because you never know what could happen later. As much as people may post videos about like, do this to like appease the TikTok algorithm or do that to sort of, ensure that your video gets more views, that I haven't found any consistency in terms of like which types of videos bring more followers, which types of videos are going to go viral, which I know isn't that helpful in terms of like TikTok growth tips. So it's just a lot of experimenting and sort of chugging along.
So again, your best bet is to experiment with lots of different formats, lots of different topics, figure out what works best, and then stick with those. Number 10, don't sweat hashtags. It's becoming increasingly clear that hashtags are just not that critical when posting to TikTok. Now, when you're first starting your account and you're brand new, it is probably a good idea to use certain hashtags strategically that kind of describe the nature of your content, so that way TikTok knows how to kind of categorize you. But once you've done that for a while, you really don't need to sweat hashtags that much. Here's what Trent and Sarah had to say about that.
But even for us, when we've gotten ranked for some of those top, like we were ranked, I think, number 2 for travel bucket list. And it was like, we got a little bump from it, but it wasn't anything crazy. But a lot of what it does, I think it really just helps TikTok identify who you are and who your audience is. So if we use the hashtag travel couple, it's more likely that video is going to get shown to people who have liked other videos that have used hashtag travel couple.
How you use hashtags within your caption or description may play a role too. Here's Tom's thoughts on that.
TikTok's been slowly changing their algorithms to where hashtags don't matter as much as they used to, but I've figured out to put the hashtag inside the description. And what I mean by that is like saying, instead of putting like a couple words at the top saying like, this is the best airplane, and then putting all the hashtags at the end, include it inside it. So saying this is the best hashtag airplane in so-and-so, and then include some after it as well.
It is definitely possible to have a TikTok go mega viral without a good hashtag. It happened to Michelle.
What's actually really funny is that video that got 16.1 million views, I put one hashtag on it, and it was basically an inside joke from the previous clip, which was hashtag please hair, with like all like spelled very weirdly. Clearly not a hashtag anyone's ever going to use or find me through. It was just an inside joke hashtag, and that's the one that went mega viral. So at this point, I think I have started to take a hard look at whether maybe I am appearing spammy with my hashtags, or if I'm getting any actual value from them. The conclusion I've come to is I don't think I'm getting any value from them according to my analytics, so I'm probably going to lighten up the use of them a lot more and maybe just include 1 or 2 that are very specific to my video.
So since my conversation with Michelle, I've actually experimented with posting some TikToks with and without hashtags, and I really haven't noticed much of a difference in reach or engagement between the two, so it does seem like they're not as important as people might think. There is another way to think about hashtags though, and that's to use them as an organizing mechanism to actually drive lots of views to your older content. Trent and Sarah have a really cool hack for how they do this. I'm gonna let them explain.
Interesting hashtag strategy that we have is for every location that we've been to, we make our own hashtag. So for us, we're Rio travelers. So we did, when we were in Thailand, we made like Rio_Thailand. And then we have it where we're pretty much the only ones using that hashtag. So if somebody comments and they're like, oh, what are your Thailand recommendations? All I have to do is comment back, be like, check out our hashtag Rio Thailand, and you'll see all of our Thailand videos. So I think there's kind of some fun ways to play with it.
Here's our advice to you. So what advice do Tom, Michelle, Trent, Sarah, and I have for you, the aspiring travel TikTok creator? Well, I'll go first. Start today. TikTok is exploding right now, and the best time to have started an account was yesterday. Now, that's not to say that the ship has already sailed. That's not the case at all. It's an exciting time because it's such a young platform that there aren't that many sort of established conventions yet, so there's tons of room right now for creativity and diversity, so take advantage. That said, it's a good idea to actually become an expert consumer of TikTok content before you start creating yourself. Here's what Tom had to say about that.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is don't be afraid to just download the app and consume content for a while and really learn how it works. Learn the trends, learn the For You page, the following page, like learn the differences between those. Really see what's working, and then start to get ideas about how you can make it your own twist or your own way. It's really not rocket science. It's pretty simple. And the longer you wait, the harder it will be to grow.
If you really love TikTok, it's going to show through in your content. Here's Michelle on why that's so important.
Being authentic and really speaking to sort of what the TikTok audience wants to see. And a lot of that has to do with just consuming a ton of content to start. I think it's clear to people when they are interacting with someone on TikTok that loves TikTok, and kind of feeding into that kind of helps propel growth in my experience.
Let people see who you are. If there's one great thing about TikTok, it's that it's a much more like fun and casual environment compared to, for example, Instagram. So make the most of that. Here's what Trent and Sarah had to say.
Build your brand, show who you are, and like travel is definitely like the number one thing that you're going on for, but like who else are you within travel? Like, do you travel for like hikes or locations? Do you travel with like your spouse? Do you travel, I don't know, there's like other aspects to you than just travel, and that's kind of what hooks people into your brand.
Yeah. Like feel free to be three-dimensional.
Yeah.
I think a lot of platforms you feel like you have to be one-dimensional. Like this is who I am, this is what I do. But on TikTok, you've got the flexibility to like test different things.
Yeah.
Like for us, it's like we can post videos traveling the world, or we can post videos with our cat in our kitchen.
Yeah.
And it's like it's super freeing to have a platform that allows that. And I think people, like, especially as you get started, just like lean into that. Don't think too much about like, oh, does this fit? Does this look good in my theme? It's like, if you want to try it, it might work, you know, and at the very least, it's going to help people like see that you're a well-rounded person. Like you're more than just this one-dimensional travel person.
Okay, if you would like tips on how to take better family vacation photos on your iPhone, just click there to watch. Also, if you go down to the description below, I have linked to my full-length interviews with Tom, Michelle, and Trent and Sarah. There was so much good stuff that didn't make it into this video, so if you want to do a deep dive on this topic, definitely go watch those full-length interviews because you're going to learn a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.